We are live with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
That's right. We got a great show for you, man. We got Nolan in the studio. He's going to be talking to us today. He's from Spring Brewing Company in downtown Ocean Springs. We're going to be talking about all things brew and beer, man. I don't really know how it gets any better than that. So stick with us for that. We're going to jump into the sponsors real quick like we always do right out of the gate, thanking the people that help us keep the show rolling. First one, Dr. Robbie Williams over at Southern Magnolia Smiles, man. 2023 is a year to keep your mouth clean. He's on the socials at Southern Magnolia Smiles on Facebook and Instagram. And when you're ready to make that appointment, man, give them a call at 228-215-1202. They're located right here on Washington Avenue in Ocean Springs, man. Go check him out. He's got a great team over there. You won't be disappointed, I promise. Our buddy Jesse Hill over at Hilltree Marketing. Jump over to hilltreemarketing.com and go check out some of the local brands that he's built websites for. If you need a website built for any reason, he can take you from no idea, no concept to a full-blown, full functioning website with IT support, the whole nine, man. And he's local. Most importantly, you call him, you get him. It's not some answering machine or answering service 3 states, 4 states away. It's him. Hilltreemarketing.com. Tell him that we sent you. Our good buddy Tyler over at Taylor & Cox Law Firm. They've been practicing law over in Pascagoula now for 30 years. If you find yourself in need of some legal representation, give them a shout. It's 228-696-0111. Tyler's been on the show before. Go back and check that episode out. He's a cool as hell guy. They have a great firm over there. They specialize in criminal law, family law, and civil litigation defense. So
we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, we're proud to have them on board with the show. Our buddy Rocky, man, over at Sea to Swamp. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. They're at C2 Swamp. He's got 2 locations now, Gaucher and Gulfport. He's all your local stop, your one-stop local shop for tackle and apparel, man. The Gaucher number is 228-205-3964. He's got you covered when it comes to rods, reels, tackle. The Gulfport store, he's slinging kayaks out of that thing.
Yep. He's looking for somebody to work too. If you know anybody looking for a job,
there you
give
go.
him a call.
Need a JOB, go hit him up.
That's it.
But we're glad to have Sea to Swamp on board, man. We appreciate their support as well. Jumped on with us this month is Kendrick over at Forever Young Women and Men's Health. If you need, you probably don't realize, are you fatigued, tired, looking for like a boost, to pick me up? You're always feeling, like you can't get motivated to do anything. Kendrick.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a question.
Right. Yeah, I do feel that way.
Yes. How do you hit the nail on the head?
Kendrick over at Forever Young, man, they can do some lab work, check out your hormones, see if you need hormone replacement. One of his slogans is he's blended medicine and exercise, man, treating men and women. Give him a shout at 228-363-6623. So if you've heard all the hype about TRT or testosterone replacement for men and women, he's your guy. So go check him out. And I think that wraps it up, right?
We got
that tournament already. No, we can mention the Pascagoula Men's Club tournament. That's already happened.
Weekend.
Yeah, we missed it. So there you go. I hope it was a good turnout.
Yeah, it was a great turnout.
We did a show on it though.
Yep.
All right, so let's jump right into it. We got some people jumping in on the live, so thank y'all for tuning in. Where do we start, man? Nolan, how did you get into brewing beer? Has it always been a passion of yours, or how'd that happen?
Yeah. So I picked it up really young. I was about 15 years old when they officially made it legal to homebrew in Mississippi.
Okay.
So naturally, as a 15-year-old, I went on Amazon and used all my birthday money to just buy the most basic, cheap little homebrew set you could buy, and pumped out a gallon every 2 or 3 months from then on until I was about 17, 18, and was like, I think I want to get serious about this.
Okay.
And that was back when Crooked Letter Brewing was still open downtown, and I actually lived right across from them. So I basically went in and was like, hey y'all look like you need some help, and I will work for basically free because I'm too young to be here.
I hear you.
And they took me up on that. So yeah.
Sweet, dude. I've heard of what's happened, Joe, the TV.
I have no idea what's going on with this TV.
Don't worry about it. I've heard of being 15 and going out and getting a fake ID, but I didn't think about
that
Amazon.
Was the original thought was all my friends are trying to get fake IDs and it's super sketchy.
Right.
You got to go on some Chinese website and give them your parents' credit card. And I was like,
Social security number.
Yeah. So Amazon charge for $120,
and I'll just brew my own stuff, and now I got my own brand.
Yeah.
So what did you YouTube? Did you look everything up, or did you have any background in doing this, or what?
I had an uncle up in northern Colorado, which is where I'm from originally, who was a big home cider maker. So he made probably like 400 gallons of cider a year out of his basement.
Okay.
Talking like almost a full-on brewery setup, right? Like really up there. And he kind of like gave me the ropes over the phone, recommended a few books, check out this, check out that. And that's what I started with cider, but it moved to beer pretty quick after that.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome to have that young of an age be passionate about something, even at 15.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing at 15.
Well, you were drinking a lot of beer.
Oh, yeah, but I wasn't making it.
You wasn't thinking about like how to brew it or anything scientific about it.
Sure.
So that's crazy. So Crooked Letter is where you kind of, you said walked in, volunteer?
Yeah, the OG.
They were on the other end, right?
So they had a couple different locations. When I worked for them, it was right across from the Ocean Springs YMCA.
Okay.
Right behind, where Crawfish House is? So that big storage room that Crawfish House now owns, it was back there.
Okay.
Oh, I remember going. It was gigantic. Yeah, it was huge.
They moved over to Porter at one point.
That's what I
started up some kind of like us, just very small, all in-house only. But that first brewery was like a big 18-barrel distribution brewery.
Yeah, we did it was a pub crawl.
Yeah.
It was a Halloween pub crawl.
Yeah, man.
And it was a zombie pub crawl.
We'd do like the tours in the back and do like, people dress up and pop out of tanks and shit.
Yeah, it was cool. I remember that. I forgot that place shut down.
Yeah, I never went there. I know exactly what you're talking about. I went to when they moved to the down by Porter and hung out down there a couple times. They were doing live music too for a little while down there.
Yeah, they had one of those things. It's like everyone in the brewery industry, you got to
mix it up.
Do events and stuff. People always come drink beer, but if you want a lot of people drinking beer, it's like, I got a live music night. I got bingo later tonight, running up at the brewery. So,
well, fun fact, me and Jared both worked at the brew pub.
Yeah.
And at the Beau Rivage, which is pretty much the first brewery, microbrewery brewery on the coast.
Yeah. So that's funny. Crooked Letter, after Katrina hit, Crooked Letter got contracted out to make the Beau Rivage beer. So that was like on my daily list back then, was like, check on all the Beau beers. It was like they had the IPA and
Biloxi Blonde and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. That was people forget that time even existed.
Yeah,
it was awesome, man.
Pre-Katrina, and they used to have the big. They were like copper and color. The brew
vats or whatever they call them.
Yeah, and it was like Do you remember that? Was you?
I wasn't even young enough to
go in there.
Yeah.
But they had it was on display. Like that was the focal point of the restaurant, bar, whatever you want to call it. But it was badass. And I remember the brewmaster. I don't remember his name. I just know that he had came from like Budweiser, I think, or something. He was had a pedigree, I guess, in that field, but he showed us a few simple things, and I just always thought that was cool as shit.
There we go.
I never wanted to pick it up and do it myself. It was never.
But I always you brought up Colorado, and you see all these commercials about all this awesome cold water coming down the mountain and all these flats and stuff, and to actually see it in Biloxi was cool to me, and actually have a Biloxi beer. I was dang, Biloxi's getting up there.
Yeah, we're fancy now. But then now it's then just a regular person can do it now.
Right.
You said the laws changed. What year was that?
So I think that was I turned 15 that year. It had to be like 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. 2012, I think, is when they changed the law to allow home brewers. Commercial brewing, I think they changed that law in like 2006, 2007, and that's when Lazy Magnolia first popped up.
Right. And they were like the first.
They were the first in the state. Yeah,
right.
They got the laws changed to allow it, and then started it.
I think that was the allocation beers as well, because that was the time we got Yingling over here from Alabama, and I remember you couldn't buy certain beers outside of Mississippi.
Yeah. It changed up a lot.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's stupid to me.
Yeah.
It's all those laws typically end up being that way. And you bring up Lazy Magnolia. I remember hearing people talk. Like I got some people that would go over that way and talk to some. I guess it was the owner, but there was all kind of bullshit they couldn't do. Like you couldn't sell there for the longest time.
Even
right?
when I was at Crooked Letter, it was like that. I think they changed that in 2016 or 17. But if you came into like our brewery, the only way you could get a beer is that I would sell you a ticket for a tour,
right?
And you could trade that ticket in for like basically the equivalent of 1 pint. It was like 2 10-ounce pours or something, right? So it's like, man,
it's a souvenir pour.
You could charge whatever you wanted, but you could only give them 2 beers, so you had to like price it out super,
right?
It's $5 to sign up for the tour. Yeah, it was really fun.
I hate those kind of laws.
It makes no sense.
I hate those kind of laws. I really do. So you started, you say Crooked Letter. How long were you there? And
I was only there for about like half a year. I kind of went in I must have just turned 18 because they wouldn't let me do anything before I was 18. And then even then, they're like, technically, we're not supposed to hire anyone under 21 to be back here. Because, I mean, you got, like, full access to tanks. Like, you can just walk up to a tank and
get
pull
big
off.
straw.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do a little quality control, you know?
Right.
But, yeah, so it was kind of in that time in between, like, spring semester and going to college, right? So, like, graduation that summer and then dipped out to college.
Yeah.
Okay. What did we do in college? Or I'm sure you still had the brewery.
So I
bug,
actually
right?
went to college for fermentation science
Damn,
and food science
really?
and technology. Yeah.
Where is that school at?
In Fort Collins, where I was from originally,
Okay.
out in Colorado.
That's another major that I didn't even know was a thing at all.
It was like completely happenstance. Is that the right word?
I think
Anyways,
it works.
Sure.
It works.
Yeah.
But
we'll edit it out.
I was looking for like just degrees. I originally wanted to go into chemical engineering and then kind of like transfer. A lot of people do that where it's like they go into engineering, make their money, and then go into brewing when they can fund their place, you know?
Isn't that what Kraft did?
Yeah, so that's what Martin did.
Yeah.
Dude is like
he was like a biochemist.
Yeah,
right?
and he just sits there, and I could just imagine with the little beakers, you know, just pouring stuff in.
Concoctions.
Yeah. So I was looking up just all these places and was seriously considering going out to Colorado School of Mines, which is in Golden. It's like a really big, well, a really small, big engineering school. It's like 4,000 students, and that's all they do.
Okay.
Is engineering. So I was gonna go there, and then like one of those targeted ads hit me, and it's like Colorado State opens the nation's second fermentation science program. And I was like, wait, that's what I want to do.
Right. Let's cut the middleman out and go straight in that shit.
2 weeks before I decided on a college, right? I saw this ad. And
ain't that crazy how life works though? Whether it's like a Facebook ad, because they can read your mind. So that's kind of like cheating anyway. But just shit in life like that, you know, one thing and then boom, here you are on this other trajectory.
Yeah.
Which is the one you wanted to be on anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have friends that went to School of Mines and they had a much different college experience than I did. You know, they were like, you know, dorm studying 6 days a week, maybe got a day off on Sundays, but I was like running around breweries and going to sensory analysis classes at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask. How was that school like? I mean, is it just they walk in, call roll, and you know, start drinking?
Basically, at a certain point.
It's a little more.
It was funny because they have like all their major specific classes they wouldn't let you take until you're 21 because of that. But that basically made it to where the first 3 years were like hard science prereqs. Like you go all the way through senior level biochem and OChem, PChem, like
crazy
liquid
stuff.
physics, basically like liquid dynamic physics.
Yeah.
Just like all these absurd sciences. And then all of a sudden your senior year, they're just like, hey, we're going to go tour a distillery at 10 o'clock in the morning. And
you're like, yes,
we're going to do a tasting of their gin flight. It's like, sweet. I guess.
I bet there's like, not in most colleges where people are like complaining, man, I got so much work. I hate it here. Like, I bet it was it totally different?
Oh yeah.
You're ready to go to work.
Everybody there was like, just like, no, this is where we need to be.
Yeah. And it was cool. Like, it was such a new program. I think I had 20, maybe just 20 people in my class, like my graduating class. And most of them were actually GI Bill vets that came on because they were like, wait, they got back and were like, I can go study beer in school. So like I was the youngest one by like 4 years. Like there was one other girl that was like 18 to 20, you know, went in at 18.
Right.
And everyone else was like late 20s, early 30s, you know, kind of all over the board. So
Uncle Sam's going to finally give me something that I want.
Right.
Damn it. Yeah.
So did y'all have to learn I'm guessing everything I've read on brewing is cleanliness is the thing. The purest cleanliness thing is the way to start off with. Did y'all learn all the sanitation classes and all that stuff like that?
So like the first, like I said, there were some classes you could take in the major that were like there was not going to be any access to beer or alcohol or anything. So they'd make you take it. And I mean, it was like studying like the chemical structure of different detergents and like why they work better than others and
so
temperature,
real
time
science
relationships.
Yeah.
And a lot of it after that, I mean, that's like the most important. Like if you can't keep a place clean, you're not going to ever make good beer. But that's like the very, very early parts, right? Then you get into like yeast health and yeast kind of just biology in general. And even when you get into the funkier beers, like this is a sour and that other one that I brought is a mixed culture sour, right? So it's like you start getting into bacterias and different, you know, strains and what they accomplish and how to blend your strains and keep counts of exactly how many cells you have in a vial. You know, if I had a slurry like that big, you could walk me through at 19 how to count like every cell in that vial, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
It was fun.
How-
It was like a really cool, though it kept like the interest up while you're going through like I said, you're taking OChem, but then like your next class is like, we're taking yeast health, and you're not going to taste any beer, but like in 3 years when you can,
Yeah.
You're going to understand
when
it.
you can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You'll be able to figure it out. What did damn, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Did you feel like that time working at the breweries back home, did you have like a leg up? Big on
definitely.
most people?
Yeah. Like I said, it was a lot of GI Bill guys who were just getting back and like moved up there, and
Maybe
like,
never
this
even
is what I want to do. Had never probably homebrewed before,
Right.
I think there were probably out of the 20 or so graduating, there were probably like 10 of us that had homebrewed before, and then I was one of 3 that had ever worked in a brewery. So it was like major leg up. Like I just skipped over the first kind of class, was like put my feet up and hung out.
Yeah.
Got these
it's
prereqs
like,
down.
What are the
already.
basics of brewing?
You're
It's
like,
oh,
come
you
on,
got
seriously?
mashing,
Yeah.
decocting, lagering, whatever,
They're like, all right, no, we get it.
Yeah,
know
you
it.
get it.
Shut
Yeah,
up till next
yeah.
semester.
Yeah,
We don't hear anything out of
basically.
you. Yeah.
So you get the degree and then you head back to where?
So I stayed up there. I thought I had a blast in college in Colorado, as
Yeah.
you can imagine.
I was
I'm
gonna
sure
say,
Yeah.
probably.
I'm like kind of taking these lax schedules for the first semester. Like I said, my last semester was just chill. I probably skied 50 days a year out there. Was rock climbing in the summers. Had a blast, but when I got out of college, I wanted to find a job kind of in that same area. Came out as a production manager for a hard cider company called Summit Hard Cider.
Okay.
Had a blast with them. And then after working for them for about a year and a half, I guess, we had lost the other 2 cider makers. So it was just me. I was working like 80 hours a week,
Yeah.
going to work at 4 a.m. when it's negative 10 degrees outside. And I was like, I
Yeah.
don't like it here
Yeah,
anymore,
that's
man.
not what I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
sign up for this.
Yeah.
What is the cider sits in the same way as beer? I'm guessing.
So the fermentation process is very similar. The only difference is like where you're getting the actual base, right? So it's just we had a big juicing truck. It was like an 18-wheeler with just all this juicing equipment on the back. You throw up the flaps, get to a farm, process all their apples, take half the juice, sell them half the juice, and then dip back up to Fort Collins and put it into the tanks.
Okay.
And we had, I think like 27 different brands of cider that we made year round.
Cider's pretty good. It's just a little it's sweet.
Yeah,
I
and I
can't drink
mean, a
whole
lot of
it.
the big commercial producers are like a lot sweeter because that's what sells for them, right? It's like the meet the masses thing. But you find some of these smaller producers like them up there, and it's like they're making really dry kind of farmyard. If you like sour beers or saisons or anything, you'd be a lot more attuned to that. They're not nearly as sweet, and they've got like a lot more character to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can get down with that for
yeah,
sure.
no doubt.
For sure. So how do you get into it for yourself? So 10 degrees, 4 a.m. You're like, this
I
ain't
was
cutting
like,
no more,
shoot, man, I gotta get out of here. And I had gone out to Asheville at some point and worked for a brewery out there called Ginger's Revenge, kind of on like a sabbatical during college.
Do they have a big apple festival there in Asheville? Did I remember hearing about that?
Yeah, so they have a big cider kind of community as well. They had a couple, maybe 3 or 4 cideries in just that one town. I mean, got like 40 breweries, so it's not that amazing. But
yeah.
And I worked for an alcoholic ginger beer maker out there and had an equal blast.
I've never heard that you can put alcohol ginger beer. No.
Yeah, so it's we make one at the brewery now actually that we release every, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. But it's basically just a ginger beer like you've had in a mule.
Yeah, mule. That's what we
ferment it down to where it's dried out. It's not sweet. And it's just already alcoholic. You can still make mules, which are delicious.
Double. It's a double mule.
Alcohol and alcohol.
Yeah,
It's a little dangerous.
Right.
But no, so I was.
I like to put gasoline on my gasoline.
Yeah, man. Lights it up quick. But I was up there and thinking about like, oh, do I want to go back to Asheville? Do I want to find somewhere new? And I saw this article about a guy trying to start a brewery in Ocean Springs, and I was like, I want to go check it out. I said that I would never come back if they didn't change some of those laws.
Right. Yeah, well, you wasted your time.
It'd be a complete, like, just you're going to go down there, lose a bunch of money, and realize it's maybe not for you.
Right.
But like I said, they had already changed them, and this guy was trying to start a brewery, and he had some mutual friends. He didn't want to brew beer. He wanted to start a brewery. He was a really good home brewer, but he didn't have the time to basically run the day-to-day. So I came down here, met with him. We kind of decided that we were going to go into this together, go back up to Fort Collins, quit my job. I gave him like 3 months notice because I was the only guy. And I was like, you need to find like 2 or 3 people to replace me.
Quick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be like a week and your next guy is going to be burnt out. Right?
Yeah.
So I moved down in March of 2020.
Oh, we all know what that was all
we
about.
all know what happened.
Yeah,
that
we
month.
all know how that went down.
Corvette 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a horrible time, but it actually worked out really well. I'm on my way down. My boss is calling me like, "Oh, please come back. I just furloughed everyone. Colorado's shutting down." I pull into Ocean Springs, and there is a full-on St. Patrick's Day parade.
Damn right.
Oh
there
yeah,
was.
baby.
Nothing had changed.
Nothing.
I mean, there was maybe 2 weeks of shutdown. And everyone in the project that I was gonna start was kind of like, we're gonna wait till this gets over. So I spent a little stint over at Chandelier in Gulfport working with
Cam and Kane
and Katie, who's a brewmaster now, and then Dave and Miles, who both left to start Fly Llama, about 2 years ago. And they had also been through the thing where they just furloughed everyone. So they're like, gladly come on, help out. Went over there for a few months, and after a minute was like, all right, these guys are probably just going to like kind of forget about this brewery. I don't really know that they're still trying to do it. What's going on? So then we started kind of searching for our own place to start and just looking around,
Yeah.
And it worked out perfectly.
Yeah. No shit.
Yeah.
I like that. So who was we in that story at the end? Was it you and the original guy that you moved to?
No,
talk to Ocean
so
Springs?
like I said, COVID changed everyone's lives, obviously.
Yeah.
So this guy ends up going and working for like Stennis like 7 days a week and driving out there. So I was like, all right, he's kind of like tied up. I've got to either start something completely on my own or find some partners. And, me and my dad talked about doing some stuff. I was like, I don't really feel comfortable going into business with family always,
Yeah.
especially with something that big.
Yeah.
And then I was actually running, while I was working at Chandelier, a small cocktail bar on Porter Avenue called the Wilbur.
Yeah.
It's right under the Roost Hotel. I don't know if you know
we've been
those guys. Yeah. So I was running that for about a year. Like I said, kind of working for Chandelier, went to work for them for half and half, and then went there full time. But I was still brewing beer the whole time, just in my shed. I built out like a $4,000 brewery in my
really?
my backyard. Yeah.
So you got it bad. You're addicted.
Oh,
yeah. It's bad.
Like it's the only reason I do what I do is so I can keep doing it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm always jealous of people. That
man, it's a blast. Like I never have a rough day up there. It's like, all right, we'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah. How many times did you mess them up before you got them right, man?
Man, there was a long, and it's like after a certain point, you get to a point where you don't really like mess them up like you used to. It's like everything's gonna be, consistent,
right?
But like then you start diving down into like exactly what you want, and then
you're
it's like
homing them in.
Like I've brewed beers where like people taste and they're like, holy shit, that's so good, and I'm like,
trash.
But there's this horrible little off flavor.
Yeah,
I can taste it on the back end. It's just a little grassy. Like dump it.
Yeah,
they're like,
what? Scrap the whole thing.
I'll
drink it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
when you're doing it in your backyard and you're brewing in your backyard, obviously, I don't think you can sell those, right? So you give those away.
So I was.
This is a loaded question.
Right. Got to be careful how I answer that one.
But no, he's gonna be calling you.
Yeah.
No, but I had this little canning machine, and I would brew 20 gallons a week, maybe, fill them, and then fill cans, right? So it'd be like 40 or 50 cans of like 2 different beers, 25 each. And I'd take them up to the bar, and if anyone came by, I'd be like, hey, if you like craft beer, and because they had a small draft selection, I think it was like 6 drafts in the Wilbur or something, and it was kind of okay beer. None of it was like really super hyper local. It wasn't like Chandelier. It was more parish and Louisiana beers. So, pull out a can of your own, and hey, first one's on me, buddy.
Right. Yeah. Hey, man,
so that's actually how I met the partners that I'm with at Lost Spring. Was he came in one night, tried to order a draft beer, it kicked halfway through the pint or something. He was like, was that the only IPA? I was like, well,
I have one in my pocket.
Yeah. Whip one out, hand it to him. And he's like, damn, dude, you made this? I was like, yeah, I got a few more at the house sometime. Like, come by. And I had probably 5 or 6 different beers, everything from sours to Belgian singles to saisons. And we just tasted through all of them. And he was like, you're really good at this. You want to start something on your own? I was like, well, I'm actually currently looking for real estate.
Right.
Yeah.
Then how did you I've always liked the Wilbur. I've only been there a couple times, but it's real kind of tiny. I like the way they decorated and stuff. Did you dig? I know you're a beer guy, but did you dig that place? Did you dig there?
No, I had a blast.
It's a cool environment.
Yeah,
ain't it?
Lauren was the owner at the time, and she's like one of my longtime friends down here. So it was cool to be able to. She like same thing, COVID happens, all her employees kind of dip out. She's closed for a minute. She's back open. But it was really cool because I got to see it like from the trenches of COVID, having like 4 people come in, get cocktails, and take them out to the porch, to like back to normal. We're doing banging Friday, Saturday nights with 150 covers. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I got to meet a lot of great people that followed us over to the brewery when we opened it, and followed her over to 701, which is their new place in Ocean Springs.
Where's that at?
So it's, where Bacchus on the Bayou just opened?
Yeah.
It's that building next to it's called Eat, Drink, Love.
Yeah.
And they have a really, really nice cocktail bar upstairs.
Did not know
Same
that.
vibe
Did
as the
not know
Wilbur,
that
so
either.
go
Did
check
not
it
know
out
that. Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah.
Great
Go
people.
check that out.
Yeah, but I had a blast working with them. I always had appreciation for cocktails, and like I said, I visited just as many distilleries as I did breweries. I just never got that into doing it myself.
Right.
But so it was fun to kind of take it back to that and take a break on the like just pushing, and like when we were all working at Chandelier together, we were probably doing 50, 60-hour work weeks each, just because it was only 4 of us, and it was like, just holy shit, man. So I got to take a break.
What did I sign up for?
Yeah.
How to get into this shit. Where did you learn the business side of it? Did they give you any of that in your degree in college?
I went ahead and got a business administration minor, just to get like kind of the basics of it. And then I was always like, breweries are usually run by very small teams of a lot of people wearing a lot of hats,
Right.
So even from like the beginning days of Crooked Letter, it was like, hey, we don't have anyone to like look through and file our taxes for this month. So like, you're going to just go through all the production logs.
You're
and,
like the
enter
teenager?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, wow.
You're the cook,
Yeah.
the secretary,
Yeah,
you
and the
answer the
CFO,
phone, and
yeah.
then if we need anything, cook. Yeah.
Exactly. So, it was like, you kind of start learning early on and take on more responsibilities as you go. When I was up in at Summit Cider, that was my first like all around like production. The only thing I didn't deal with was the tap room, which was already very well established in that town. It was like right in the middle of town, so people were in there every day, but definitely got like a quick learning curve of the like production scheduling, inventory management, distribution relations, all that kind of stuff. Like distributors will come up to breweries like that and like, hey man, you got that like 1,500 cases? And it's like, what? And I'm like, yeah.
Somewhere back there.
Like next week. It's like, yep, I'll have it, bud. So
we will get to work.
Yeah. So where's the new place at? Where is your actual brewery at?
So we are located right behind Mosaic and Lady May in downtown. Kind of. So if you're thinking streets, it's Washington and Government on the southeast side of it.
Yeah.
We have that parking lot. We're in that parking lot right behind those two. We're on that porch, kind of like right in the middle of the parking lot. It used to be connected to Boots and Spurs. A long time ago, it was a Purple Pelican.
That's what I know.
So we kind of split that space, but it works out because they're only open late night and we're only open during the day, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Neon Moon now, right?
It's Neon Moon now, yes.
Yes,
if I did not mention that.
Yeah.
Most people know it as the old Boots and Spurs.
Yes.
I didn't even know
that all
Boots and
happened.
Spurs.
That all happened in a very quick timeline.
Yeah, it did. It did. And y'all are like you said, like on that porch area.
Yeah,
outside.
yeah. So we have a tap
it's the
room
same,
inside.
Same building, no? Or,
yeah, it's the same roof and same building. And we share the porch. Like I said, we're kind of like jutted straight back from the porch, and Neon Moon is the rest.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, we're in a tiny little 1,200 square foot place with
it's cool. We
tap
went in
room,
the other day.
brewing, set up and everything. So
in the tank, you walked in. I didn't.
Yeah,
the tanks are all in that 1,200 square feet.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything?
So my whole brewing cellar, we have 7 tanks, and it is 125 square feet.
Wow.
Tight.
Yeah. That
you
is
can
tight.
squeeze it in there. It's only ever 1 or 2 of us back there working at a time. So it's like
a
nice place to just go zone out. And
Okay.
How many members you got on your team right now?
So it's just me and our friend Daniel Barajas. He runs the beer house at Mosaic and has for a long time.
Yeah.
Right up there with that big draft room. He's the only one that touches the beer other than me. And then I have probably 7 taproom employees.
And that's front of the house
day.
people. That's
that's all our, And we have a big cocktail program there too as well. One of the cool things about Mississippi, a lot of states don't allow, weirdly, is breweries can have liquor and beer.
Correct.
So we can mix cocktails. We have a really good bourbon selection.
That's funny you say that because I read it on your Facebook page and I didn't know if I was reading that right until I started seeing the pictures because I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do both.
So it used to be just small guys, and they actually just changed it to where like now even Chandelier has a pretty good little liquor selection and cocktail program.
Yeah, I mean, if a bar can do it, I don't really understand.
And I mean, there's so many people down here that it's like, yeah, my husband loves craft beer, but I like won't even drink a Michelob Ultra,
Right.
Like, all right, well,
right.
I got wine, I got vodka sodas. I got, fruit cocktails, whatever you want.
Is this a dumb question? Do you like beer to brew or drink or both? Like, is beer your jam?
It's my jam.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I love spirits, and I got like really into bourbon collecting for a while. So like I said, we've got a really good collection up there. My dad raised me drinking tequila, like really nice tequila. So we've always got some good tequilas behind the bar.
Okay.
But beer is like my primary. Like if I'm gonna sit down at the end of the day and have a drink,
that's your go-go juice.
Yeah. I like a beer every now and then, but it just, I don't know. It ain't my favorite all the time drink.
Yeah.
It's a boating drink. If
I love
it.
It's a summer.
Right.
Yeah.
Summer drink. When it gets too hot, I can't drink whiskey. I love whiskey. I love bourbon. But it gets too hot, it's like, I'd rather have a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I stumbled upon sour beers, which is probably a good segue into that growler right there. I freaking love those things now a lot, but I hate IPAs pretty much. Most of the ones that I didn't
bring an IPA because I almost filled that thing up with our New England IPA.
Yeah.
And I was like,
some of them are good. I've had a couple that
might work better.
Yeah, I've had a couple that were good, but I've almost had no sours that I don't like.
Yeah.
Well, explain the vibe of the bar, and then let's start drinking. Let's start testing them in there.
So we call it the Lost Spring. Ocean Springs obviously has this history of having like the spring that no one really knows where it is. I have like 3 friends that are like, oh, it's on my property.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's like a ground seepage point, like groundwater seepage, but
there's
no real springs anymore. But we wanted to kind of like take that and run with it. So we try to create like a very natural wooded area type of vibe. All of the woodwork was done by me and my partner, Taylor Pontius, who owns Neon Moon now. He's an incredible woodworker, man. I don't know if you got to check it out while you were in there the other day. But
we
that
just
bar
ran.
Top was so much
fun.
Fun
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all sinker cypress, back poured with epoxy and done up real nice. And it's kind of just like we're just off the beaten path enough to where you can come in and enjoy yourself and have some friends and have a conversation and not be, like going to the government. Night on government.
I'm gonna start flashing some photos while you keep.
It's cool. Yeah.
But no, it's a blast up there, man. I mean, I'm biased as hell, but it's my favorite place to hang out. Just go up there with a few friends. Like I said, we do random events like bingo on Tuesdays, and that was a exceptionally packed day. It doesn't always look like that, but it's fun to see it like that. I swear.
Yeah. So you got it inside, and then you got the walk up side curtains.
Yeah. So that was like a really important thing. We kind of thought of that as like, how do we maximize the use of this tiny space?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, make it inside outside. It's like it's gonna be hot as shit back there anyways because we've got 180 degree water going in a tank pretty much 24/7 and glycol coolers pumping out heat and walk-in coolers pumping out heat and
you might as well open it up.
Yeah, might as well open it up and catch a breeze in there.
Yeah, I'll wait till I catch up here because we're a little bit of a lag as to what you're seeing over there. But
looks like some little organic stuff. What was
your photos are on point. We talked about right here. So describe that to us. That's your brewing tanks there. That's
that's Daniel. That's my assistant right there, and me brewing. It looks like a batch of our hard ginger beer actually. So those little tanks that he's touching are what we brew our ginger beer in. We keep it gluten free for everybody because it is naturally gluten free. So we only use those tanks and only use like lines for that beer. But it's like, for being something you only get 31 gallons out of, it's probably one of the hardest brew days we have. It's like just trying to work around these tiny tanks with all this kind of like really obnoxiously small setup. But it's
little
fun.
Tools.
Yeah.
That's cool though, man.
What's your give us some of the beers and what do you usually have on tap?
Yeah, so we have well, let's crack this open if that's all right. I don't want it to get too warm, but we'll talk about some of our small batches first, and then we'll go into some of the other ones we make. So this is actually one of our most popular beers we've probably ever made. It is a lemon meringue sour called Chantilly Lace.
Okay.
So I don't know how much y'all want. I'll fill
all
that
of
up. Yeah, I should have filled that up. That was dumb.
It's all good.
But this was a beer that kind of like I feel like represents Lost Spring pretty well. Grab that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And because it was just a beer like, people are always asking like, oh, how do you come up with your beers? What do you do? What's your inspiration? This and that. And it's a lot of things, like good. Sometimes there's days where, let me top you off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes there's days where you go in with a very in tune perception of what you want to brew and what you want it to be.
Right.
And other days you walk in and you say, I've got 100 pounds of Pilsner malt, like 10 ounces of Saz hops and some bacteria that I could throw in there.
Let's make it work.
This one was kind of a throw in between where I was out golfing at the Preserve right down the street, actually.
Fancy.
Had a few beers in me, and my dad was like, you need to start making sours. It was like one of the first sours we made. And I was like, yeah,
I
they're not
love
my favorite
sours.
thing, but I'll make one soon. And he was like, what do you think you're going to do? And I was like, I'm going to do a lemon meringue sour. For some reason, that was the first thing. It was hot as shit out there.
Yeah.
Like lemon meringue. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, just a little bit of fresh lemon juice blended in, rested on vanilla for a few days. Went in the next week, and it was one of those cases where I was like, I can only make like 3 beers, and none of them are what I need. So we're going to do Chantilly Lace for the first time. And my God, the people tore through that batch so
It's
quick.
good.
It was like a week and a half, and people are walking up like, oh, you guys still got Chantilly? We're like, no. And they would just walk off. Like, oh.
You're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Well,
damn
you
it.
suck.
Yeah, exactly.
But that one beer is good.
Yeah, no, this is really good. I
Yeah,
like
it's really good.
This is really good. And this is the recipe that you're talking about?
Yeah, so this is Chantilly Lace.
Okay.
And like I said, it's just a kettle sour that we make. It's about 5.5%. We blend it down with a little bit of fresh lemon juice, and then rest it on some like Ethiopian vanilla beans for 2 or 3 days to get that creaminess out of it.
It's got kind of
Wow.
like, it's kind of got like a cereal kind of vibe to it.
Yeah. So all the sours that we make, we try to put like a pretty decent malty backbone into it, because there's probably like 4 ounces of hops in this whole 75-gallon batch, which is like really small.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't mean much to you, but
Yeah.
like a really small amount of hops in it, right? So like your main shine is going to be whatever you blend in after, and also that malt bill. And to get that kind of cake vibe, right? That like lemon meringue cake,
Yeah.
you want a little bit of cracker like back behind it.
It's good.
For people that don't know anything about brewing, which I would say Joey and I are probably very
Do
much
not.
in there. Can you walk through like the quick spiel of how to brew beer?
Yeah. So
Your ingredients to
we'll skip the kettle sours. I'll explain that in a second.
Okay.
Because it's a little
A little different process.
But for your basic beer, you're gonna grind down malt, is how every beer starts.
Mhm.
There's some adjuncts you can use in with the malt, like wheat. We make a rye IPA with like 20% rye, oats, rice, whatever, corn, basically any grain. And so you're gonna extract the sugars out of that in a process called mashing. So you're combining it with a heated water. It's not boiling, but it's not cool. You're shooting for about 150 degrees in general. And that sits for about an hour, and all of these enzymes start coming out of the malt and breaking down the starches into like dissolvable sugars, right? So like you taste it in the first 5 minutes, and it just tastes like you're sucking on like a wheat stalk, right? It's like no flavor. There's nothing really to it. But then after an hour, it's like the sweetest liquid you've ever sipped. Like it breaks down so many of the sugars. You get about, on our system, about 80, anywhere from 82 to 85% efficiency. So that means like 85% of those sugars are being converted, or starches are being converted. You're ending with a product that's like, no joke, almost as sweet as maple syrup. It's like really thick, sticky, sweet wort. So then you boil it, you add your hops. The hops get added at different points in time when you're shooting for different things. The earlier you add them in general, the more bitter it's going to become. The later you add them, the more kind of aroma you'll get out of it, which a lot of the new IPAs, the New England IPAs and stuff, are shooting for those late edition hops, because you get a lot of tropical fruit flavors. A lot of juiciness is what people are kind of like shooting for in those
And that's
beers.
usually the aftertaste that grabs you in the back of the throat.
So that's more of those like beginning bittering hops, right? So that's that like, it converts an acid into a very like flavor positive bittering compound. And so those are the old IPAs that like it'll stick in the back of your throat, Nowadays, a lot of people just skip those completely. Like Ghost in the Machine's kind of one of the well known, right? So they probably put like either no or almost no bittering hops in, and it is all late edition Whirlpool and dry hopping, which is when you add hops into the tank while it's fermenting. So after you boil, you add your hops, you cool it down to about 60 to 70 degrees, depending on what beer, even lower if you're going to be brewing a lager. And you pitch your yeast, which is very beer dependent. We use probably 6 different house strains of yeast at Lost Spring, but they're not all being used at one time. You got like stores of them in the back. Martin is like one of those guys you could just sit down and talk about yeast for
he came
10
in here
hours.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I just want to drink
This
beer,
dude
bro.
is into beer, bro.
Yeah, no, for sure. But so it ferments out, you crash it down about as cold as you can get it, and everything will precipitate out of solution. So you go from like a very chalky, hazy product to something like this or something like a lager clarity,
Yeah.
And then you just send it into a bright tank is what it's called, carbonate it, keg it if you're going to go into cans or bottles. There's a lot of different offshoots, obviously, and like a lot of different intervention points, I guess, where you can change what you're doing, but that's like the basic.
Does where it goes for like keg versus bottle versus whatever, does that matter to you on the brew end? Does that change anything?
It doesn't really change anything on the brew end, but it definitely has a really big impact on the final beer. Canning and putting beer into pretty much anything but a keg is a lot harder than it should be.
Really?
Because beer, you're always fighting oxygen. So like from the second that we get out of our boil kettle, everything we do is basically in an attempt to like not allow any oxygen into the process. So it's all closed loop transfers. Even when we dry hop and are adding things into the tank, we'll put it in a vacuum, pull a vacuum with CO2 and then drop it in to where there's like no oxygen transfer there, right? And that's like a big thing. But when you're putting beer into an open container like a can is looks like this when it's filled, and then the top gets dropped on top and sealed. So you're basically fighting this whole container being full of oxygen. So if someone doesn't do that right, doesn't know what they're doing, you're purged, there's a CO2 purge that'll burst a little into the bottom of the can and kind of create a layer. If that's not working right, you'll just ruin a beer. I mean, like I've watched, like one of my first days working at Crooked Letter, we threw away, I think it was 5,000 beers.
What?
Yeah. That was like the first day. I was like, oh, this is what we're talking about. Holy shit. I was like, how much did that cost you? And he was like,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, you'll learn that later.
You're not getting a paycheck this week.
I might be pissed off for the rest of the day, just so you know. Yeah, that's tough there.
So what do y'all usually you for your beers? You put them in cans, you put them in kegs,
so everything
growlers.
We do right now is canned. We do offer growlers as like a kind of out of the tap room exchange if you want to take beer home. It's not the best way to drink beer. Obviously, this kind of situation where you're going to drink it 2 hours after it's filled is all good, but they're not for like long-term storage at all.
Yeah.
Occasionally we'll make bottles like this that kind of like they're
almost looks like a wine bottle.
Yeah,
Champagne,
exactly.
Yeah.
And those are kind of for our nicer beers, and we don't do it. I think we've only done it once actually since we opened with a gin barrel saison that we released. Those bottles are still sitting upstairs conditioning.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, those ones are gonna age out a little longer.
Yeah. So when people go to your bar, what are the sizes that you're giving these? What are these called right here? These are.
So that's a 10-ounce, kind of like Belgian snifter.
Right.
The pints definitely are our most popular. People just they're out. That's the thing, like a lot of the breweries that are selling off premise have like a lot more beers that they're going to serve in 3 ounces or 5 ounces or 10 ounces or 12. But when it's just a tap room that you're going to get all the beer you can there, you might as well pull some pints.
Yeah. What about the laws? Like obviously they've came full circle since, I guess 12 or 15.
Yes.
Have they gotten better? Not worse, I wouldn't think, right? But
they've gotten a lot better. I wouldn't have come back if they got worse, that's for sure. Or if they even stayed the same, right? But they've gotten a lot better. We would not even be able to open back in 2012. But obviously, like, we're able to do what we do. And like I said, the having cocktails on the side thing definitely helps a lot.
Can you sell food?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And we don't personally like delve into the food game ourselves. But we have pop-ups come. We built a little like taco bar on our porch out. So every Friday and Saturday night, you can come up and get some really good Venezuelan food right now is who's running it, but we have kind of different people trade in and out.
Okay. So it kind of keeps it fresh.
Food truck kind of deal?
Yeah, basically, like we didn't have a space to fit it. Downtown Ocean Springs obviously low on parking.
Yeah,
right.
Didn't have a space to put a food truck, so it was like, well, let's just build a little kitchen and have people come in. So we kind of give them free range, and it's like we've had guys do pop-ups where they did crawfish and like jambalaya, and then we've had guys come up and do all sandwiches and salads. And
that's a killer idea.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's fun.
Keeps your menu like entertaining, right?
Yeah. And like I said, the guys that are running it now are they're called the Rapa Bar. They're out of Mobile, actually. Some of the best Venezuelan food I've ever had.
I've never had Venezuelan food.
Yeah, they've got like arepas, which are these like kind of pastries, almost like a meat pie, but like a fried pastry, so they're really crispy.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best hot sauce. I don't even know how they make that stuff. I mean, it's like
I can't tell you about that, right?
Can't tell you about that.
Underground
You just gotta
shit.
try yourself.
You just gotta eat it at your own risk, though. It's at your own.
What are y'all hours? When are y'all open?
So we're open 7 days a week. A little bit weird on the schedule. We open at 4 Monday and Tuesday, 2 Wednesday and Thursday, and then noon Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's basically just open till every night.
So you're ripping 7 days a week? Did I hear you right? My man loves his job.
Yeah,
He
he
loves
loves
it.
beer.
He loves
Man,
it.
I'm having
He
a blast.
loves it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was I was going to ask. Did you have any you went from working a lot of hours for other people, did you doing your own thing? Like has it been
Oh no,
do
I
you
work
get
just
pulled
as much.
Well, yeah, for sure.
If
But
not more.
do you feel like, damn, I like the running the business side of it too? And when you got your own name on it, your own logo, like that really makes it better. But do you feel like I just would rather focus on the brew more, or no, I like the whole picture?
I like all of it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the big things that got me into making beer in the first place, other than just like literally needing a source of alcohol, was like, my parents were never like big drinkers, but when they had people over, there was always a very like communal drinking feel, and so that means a lot to me, and being able to run a tap room where it's like I know almost every regular by like name, where they live, what their dog's name is, what beer they're going to order, and that's like really important for me. Whereas like back when I was running kind of big distribution breweries and stuff, it's like you're just in the back all day. You might go out there and have a pint at the end of the day, but you're kind of like, no, don't approach me,
Right,
It's like,
right,
I've had
right.
an unbelievable day.
Yeah, that's a cool part of it. I didn't really think about, but yeah, you get to be more of a spokesman for your brand, your business, and,
exactly.
and get to know your customers.
Yeah, and it's a lot more fun like that to me, just because you get so much like direct feedback. It's like, oh man, like I'm a big IPA guy, but that last one just wasn't it, or like the opposite. They're like, holy shit, you need to do that again, because that was. We've got a Kolsch coming out later this week that we brewed like a year ago, and it was like just one of our regulars' favorites. It was like one of those beers that absolutely took off, and it's cool to like see how quick it's selling, but also like who's drinking it. So yeah, it's definitely
Are you like a mad scientist who's just constantly back there trying to chop stuff up?
Pretty much. Yeah. My girlfriend will be like, "What are you thinking about, babe?" I'm like, think about this white stout that I want to brew.
And
you a little bit, but mostly the white stout.
We're like on a date, like a steakhouse, and I'm like, just this beer that I want to make. It
reminds me of that meme. Have you ever seen it where the guy's got his back to the girl and they're laying in bed and her blurps like, I bet he's thinking about other women. And yours is like, I wonder if I can come on, blah blah blah,
with this white stout. It's gonna be delicious.
No, there was like a good 2 weeks where I was stuck on that beer, man. I was like, I'm gonna make a white stout, and it came out. I brewed it finally, came out fantastic. But there was like 2 weeks where like in my mind it was like, do I want to use this malt or this malt?
I love that, dude.
How much coffee do I want to put in it? How do I want to put the coffee in it? I'm gonna put cacao nibs in it. Where do I get them? What am I gonna? It's like,
because if you jack something up at the end, you gotta wait. What's one take to ferment usually, or the ending process?
Our general turnaround time is like anywhere from our quickest beers, which are like our New Englands, are like 3 weeks, and almost everything else is like a month plus.
That's
some
from
beers going up
cracking
to like
ingredients.
Yeah.
To
so like
putting
from
it
like milling to like it's on tap and people are drinking it. It's usually about that, like most are about a month to like a month and a week. But that Kolsch, I looked at it. I started it in like April 28th, I think, and I just transferred it today. It'll be on tap by Thursday.
Nice. So you got to wait 2 months to see if you screwed up.
Yeah. Literally. When it's like even worse is like a lot of times, especially with lagers and Kolsches, it's like there's like that period. So it all ferments in about a week, like 7 days. It'll be kind of done fermenting. Like it'll be alcoholic, but for those beers, there's like a month and a half to a 2 month to a 3 month lagering period where the beer is just cleaning itself up. So like it gets done and you taste it and you're like,
oh God,
oh, that's trash. Yeah. You're like, oh, wait a week, and that's
it.
like a big part of it is just being patient enough to like, don't transfer it, don't rush it, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you got to go down a tap in the tap room, and like, I'm going to clean this beer up and put something out that I'm actually proud of rather than like trying to rush out a beer to hold 8 taps,
Yeah. Do y'all hold staples? Do you have staples that say you have? What are those?
So we have 4 flagships is like what you would call them, I guess. We have a pale ale called 1699 Pale Ale. It's like our kind of light. It'll convert a Miller Lite drinker to a craft beer guy. We have our Mississippi Hippie, which is, I think I gave you the Mississippi Hippie the other day. It's that New England IPA.
It was good.
It's like a good kind of middle of the road, like not super juicy, not super bitter IPA, Usually you can down a couple in the heat of the summer and not feel too bad about yourself, you know.
Right.
We've got a porter called the Porter that we make with some blackstrap molasses made up in Jackson. That was kind of like one of those homey beers, you know. It was like, what'd you used to eat when it was your granddad's house? Like biscuits and molasses.
Yeah.
All right, and coffee.
There it is.
Sweet. Let's make it a beer, you know. And then we have a rye IPA called Rye or Die that was like just one of my favorite. That was like one of those from college that I used to make. It was like you put one of those kegs on at a party and it blows first, but everyone's pretty hammered because it's 7.5%, and then you just start throwing out like whatever you want.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too about percentages. I remember because not only we have Craft Advisory on, but we had the guy from Yeasty Beastie was on a while back. And he said that the guys that are heavy in the brewing and love beer a lot, they like a lower alcohol content because you like to drink more of it, right?
About session beers, like especially at the brewery, because if you're thinking like again distribution versus a tap room, like people love buying 7.5%, 8% cans and going home and trashing through 3 while they're mowing their lawn, right. But then like if you have a guy come in and drink 3 pints of a 7 or 8%, IPA,
he might need an Uber.
It's like, and no one thinks it. I remember one day somebody had 4 of the Rye or Dies in a row, pints, and he's like, we're like, hey sir, like I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cut you off. If you need some water, you're welcome to it. If you need us to call you an Uber, whatever. He's like, I'm not drunk. I only have 4 of them beers. I usually drink a 12-pack of Michelob. It's like, dude, that's like each one of those like 3 Michelobs. So you had a 12-pack of Michelob.
He's like, damn it, don't be talking math to me.
Yeah, I know. I have my shoes on.
Did he stand up then? He's like, maybe you're right.
He was like, yeah. And then he came back around. And he's like, where's my truck? And we're like, we're just gonna call you an Uber.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. You don't realize it sometimes until you stand up. You're like, man. A little bit more.
And like you make a 7.5% beer that goes down like a 5%er, and it's a bad combination. I've seen it happen.
Yeah. You gotta tiptoe.
Yeah. What's your magic number, do you think, for you personally?
Personally, I'm like usually in the 5.5, 6 range. If it's like a hot day and I'm trying to kind of get down, I'll have like go for like a 4.5%. Like that Kolsch will be 4.75, and that'll be like my summer beer,
Yeah.
How do y'all test that at your place?
So it's all about the specific gravity of the solution. So it's like I said, you're extracting all those sugars, right? So sugar is going to make liquid more dense. So you test it by that. It's called the hydrometer. And so you take a reading at the very beginning and then at the very end of fermentation, like when you're about to package it. And so the difference in between that, there's like a long formula that you apply to it, and it'll shoot out a exact number for you.
So you don't shake it up like moonshine and see the bubbles on it.
Yeah, you don't look at the legs.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna work too good. Did you have another one that we were gonna try out?
Yeah. Do you want any more of this? This is
we'll drink some of that later. Let's taste the other.
I want to taste the flavors.
Like I said, so this isn't one of our beers, but this is actually like kind of the beer that one of the beers, or the style at least, that got me into brewing. So when I went up to Colorado to visit colleges for the first time, I'd already been brewing, but I wasn't that serious about it. And my mom took me to this brewery. It was a little farmhouse brewery, and all they did was barrel-aged saisons, barrel-aged sours, stuff like that, right? And I had never had beer like that. Coming from Mississippi, like a sour beer was a horrible mistake at that point, right?
Yeah.
So it was like really interesting to go up here and have this beer that I was just like, that's still a beer.
It kind of goes in phases, because I know IPAs were huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And then all of a sudden IPAs went to sours, and now sours get huge. And it's kind of like,
I thought IPAs were still dominating.
Am
I wrong?
They are.
But to me, sours are more, I see more people ask for sours now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
More than IPAs, or ask for sours more than they used to.
Yeah,
that makes sense, because there's more of them available, right?
I guess so.
And I would say on the level of, might sound super stupid, but there's levels of sour to sour beers, right?
So this is like going to be one of the more sour.
I was going to say,
I like more sour.
Me too. The first one, which was great, but it was I would call that low sour. Like there wasn't a super.
Yeah. So I sour.
That one's pretty sour.
To about 3.5 pH.
Okay.
Just because that, I find it's like a very good intersection where like no one's going to pucker at it.
Yeah.
The guys that have never had a sour beer, never liked it, will like it. But the people that want their sours will also be okay with it,
Right.
So barrel aged sours, this is a much different process from.
That's different. What? Okay,
ours.
yeah. Let's talk down this one.
It kind of tastes like apple juice.
It does. It's got a definite like fruit thing going on.
Let me get some because it's been a minute since I had this. So
now this is not yours. You said
it almost tastes like champagne.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is it's called a Long Memory. It is from Parlow Beer Lab down in the Bywater of New Orleans. They're probably like kind of like my inspiration, you know, like one of those breweries. Like I said, that first one I went to, it was like chase that, and I worked under a bunch of Belgian guys who that's like these type of beers all came from Belgium originally. They're not German lagers, they're not English ales, they're like their own thing. So they're Parlow is like the nearest brewery that does this kind of beer, right? It's all wood aged. They usually will go for 6 months to a year in either a barrel or what's called a fooder, which is like a giant, like, 500-gallon barrel. And you just get a lot deeper, more complex beers out of it, right? So this one, like ours is kettle soured, so we add a bacteria, it drops down the pH, gives you a little bit of flavor in the meantime, but the main reason you're doing it is just to drop the pH down. We kill off all the bacteria by boiling it and then ferment it like we would a normal beer with yeast. There's no bacteria left. Package it, you blend it down. Whereas these beers, so they're taking straight out of that boil kettle, like I was saying, they cool it down and they just put it into a barrel and have a house culture usually in the wood that kind of ferments it. So you're like, it's a lot more of a guessing game, but the guys that crush it, it's like,
so it's kind of like whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot more into like blending beers at that point and different malt bills. Whereas our job is more like, we're going to make this beer. Their job is more like, we're going to make a beer.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, but we don't know exactly what it's going to be, right?
That's the mad scientist
That's
part.
crazy.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what kind of got me into it, right? Was like this realization that like, oh, there's a whole different side of this where like I'm shooting after like this many IBUs, this ABV, this flavor character. Like there's some guys that are just throwing shit in a barrel and it's coming out.
It's kind of like the white airhead. Remember the white airhead?
Yeah.
It's like you didn't know what flavor it was going to be, so you ate it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I think about it like as music though. You got the guys that are super technical, that know every music theory on the planet. They know all the scales. They know everything, and they're good. But then you got certain guys that just play,
feel, man.
And it doesn't matter what they play.
Yeah.
They're kind of like doing stuff that's like jazz guys. It's not all the way even right.
Yeah,
but it's perfect.
Time the head brewmaster of Coors. He was the leader of the MBAA, the Master Brewers Association of America. Just like if you said his name, people are like, "Oh yeah, no, I know Toby," And he was very like German Reinheitsgebot brewer. He was like, "This is how it's done. This is how it's done every time. This is how you recreate a beer down to like 0.0001%." Every time, right?
You don't change
for God's
sake.
Right.
And then this other guy was like this old Belgian professor who had worked for New Belgium since about like the 90s. He was the head brewmaster there. He brought kind of the style of sours and kettle sours and barrel aged sours to America back in the, like I said, like late 80s, early 90s. And he was like, dude, like it's just beer, It was like it's not that complicated,
right?
And it was really fun to like learn from these two completely different sides of it, and see like how different it can be.
What's the prestige like in the beer game? Kind of like what you just mentioned. I mean, is there a beer Olympics for brewers? What's
yeah, man, for sure.
I knew there had to be.
Yeah, so I mean the two biggest ones would be like GABF, the Great American Beer Fest, which is generally held in Denver. And I've been a couple times, and oh my God, when I tell you it's like a kid in a candy shop, it's like there's gonna be 5.
I bet for you, yeah, sure, right?
There's gonna be hundreds of breweries serving their beer. There's gonna be 5,000 breweries, like employees there. There's gonna be like seminars. There's gonna be tasting events. There's gonna be competitions. And so like the sought after crown of craft beer is like the GABF gold medal.
Okay.
Some years they don't even hand them out. So they have like there's probably 108 different styles in their guidebook, right? And so you enter per style. You can enter like 4 or 5, I think, at a time. And you're shooting for like the best New England IPA, the best brown ale, the best like winter saison, right?
Yeah. And if you win that, you're Michael Jordan.
Yeah, because like I said, some years they'll be like, none of the
All
IPAs
y'all
were good enough
suck.
for gold this year. So like,
What?
you get silver, you get bronze.
Wow, I like
Now,
that.
I'll
know
go
that
home.
I
I don't know that
that.
I know of any competition I've ever heard of that's that gangster to
Yeah,
be
dude,
like
they just
all
say,
y'all,
like, no,
thank
it
you for
didn't meet our
coming, but y'all
standards.
suck.
Yeah,
I like
You're-
that.
It
we're
happened
gonna- and I
last
do
year.
like that. I do like that.
Last year, I think there were more categories that didn't get awarded a gold medal than ever because they were just like, and it's like one of those things, you know. I think last time I checked, there's 8,000 some breweries in the U.S. and they're all competing for these spots, right?
Mhm.
It's like, nah, it just didn't float the bill, and you got to be pressing, you got to be going up, you got to be innovating. You know, it's not just like, oh, I made the same IPA 5 years in a row and
Right.
won gold every year. It's like, no, I won gold one year. The next year, the batch was not even good enough to place. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
You got to do
turmoil.
some innovative
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Make
yeah.
it
Get your shit.
special.
Do y'all have do you have any plans to try to can and get out like distributor wise?
yeah. So
Is that more headache than
I
it's
always
worth?
call
or-
like Lost Spring as it exists now is like, it's like the original experiment, right? We wanted to like come in. The craft beer world in Mississippi is like much further behind just
Correct.
because of literally the limitations.
Like
that we
everything
have.
well, the
else.
law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's like if breweries couldn't open here until 2006, it's like there were guys who have been doing it for 40 years, you know, up in like
Right.
Brooklyn and
Right.
Boston and in Colorado.
So y'all like the innovators.
Yeah, so like we wanted to come down and just kind of check out the space. It was weird originally because I was like this, like I said, is like my style of beer. If I put 8 of these on tap, I would go out of business within a month.
Right.
Right? Because
Not
it's just like,
everybody's.
it's not everyone's jam. It's not the market, right? Like we do really well with our New England IPAs, with our kettle sours, with our lighter beers. Like we have a Belgian wit that people just absolutely love. Those kind of beers, like they crush. But we kind of wanted like a test grounds for that, right? Rather than like going and spending $1 million, 1.5 million, putting in a brewery and then being like, oh shit, I'm making the wrong type of beer.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, you got to have a staple. I mean, it's always, hey, what tastes like Michelob Ultra? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
What
right.
tastes
So,
like
Well,
like,
comparison.
Coors Light? Yeah.
Like I said, 16.99's that like Miller Lite conversion beer, you know?
Yeah.
It's like nobody's ever going to be mad about it. It's not too hoppy. It's not too sour. It's not flavored with anything.
Right.
Tastes like a beer, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, got to have one of those. And then from there, it's just testing your grounds, right?
Well, I think it's like whiskey too. You start off like I did with cheap, nasty Crown Royal, Wild Turkey,
Mhm.
and then once your palate builds, you jump up to a little better beer, and you kind of get out of your
Yeah,
your little
exactly.
zone
So
that
that's
you
where you
stay
start
in.
getting
Yeah,
into
yeah.
like this kind of stuff and
Yeah.
like food or aged pilsners and like all this weird shit, right? But
Yeah.
like everyone's got to start out with like that one day they went to a pub and didn't realize it was a craft pub, and you know it's
Yeah.
like, oh, let me get a Miller. Oh, you got a 16.99? Sweet, I'll try it. And then they come back 3 months later and they're like, oh, I'm into IPAs now. You know, I had my first one
Yeah.
that I liked a week ago. And
Yeah.
oh man, I had a sour for the first time. You know, and you just kind of go along that
Yeah.
list.
Going back to what you said though about not wanting to build like a $1.5 million
Yeah.
situation and not know. So are you saying that like where you're at now is like your testing ground to do something
Yeah,
a
exactly.
bigger microbrewery?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like we wanted to establish ourselves, which we've done a good job of. Now it's kind of just figuring out how exactly we're going to scale it, where we're going to move next,
Mhm.
what we're going to put into it, what we think we should versus like, you know, what's realistic. But we'll definitely move probably, I would say in the next 2 or 3 years to a bigger location, start doing like minor distribution first, just
Okay.
like kegs to bars, right? Because that's like a great taproom revenue is always going to be like your bread and butter in a brewery because like your margins are just stupid.
Right.
When you start distributing and going through
Yep.
third parties,
Yeah.
and
They got to
start
get their
just-
Then they
cut.
start
Yeah.
cutting
Yep.
and cutting
yeah,
and cutting.
but like
yeah.
it's totally worth it for me to take even like a small loss on a keg, sending it to a different bar where someone's going to have it and be like, oh, this is made down the street.
I'm gonna go look
I'm gonna
you
go
up.
there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So like that's kind of the business model that we're like looking to go into,
Okay.
Gotcha.
kind of in between the like parish and like where we are now, right? Like Fly Llama is a great representation of like the perfect brewery plan. It's like put out 5 or 6 beers in your local distribution,
Yeah.
drive people to the tap room, have 30 beers on tap, and just crush it.
Let
you
them
know?
dig in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Douglas wants to know. Thanks for the question, man. Do you do tours?
I can give anybody a tour when I'm there.
Yeah.
It's a very small setup. Like I said, it's 125
for $5.
Right.
For
For
$5,
Right.
you get a 6-ounce pour, man.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, like, I'm always happy, and that, like I said, we were talking about earlier, like seeing that customer interaction is like so cool because someone can come in and be like, looking at the tanks, and like if I'm back there, I'll just walk up and be like, "Oh, you want to come check it out?"
Oh,
man?
yeah.
Like,
They're like, what?
yeah, I'll show you
Yeah.
the whole process.
He said he's got 20.
There you go.
He's got 20. You could do 4 tours if I'm
Yeah.
math's right.
Well, y'all do some events too, right? Like these hats we got on. Explain.
Yeah,
that.
you got merch too, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
By
One
the
of
way.
the first things when we opened, I was like, all right, guys, best thing to get our name out there, we got to throw a music fest.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all my partners are like, what? Like they all, so one partner, like I said, owns Neon Moon. It's Taylor Pontius. And then Kenny Williams, who owns Mosaic, is my other partner. So they both run kind of like established restaurants and clubs. Like don't know that much about the brewery life or like how to drive people in. And so like, yeah, we just have a music festival. We shut down parking. We have, 7-8 bands come in all day, free to come.
Yep.
And the first year we did it was just an absolute hit. I think we had 400 people show up
Wow.
throughout the day. And this is like, 4 months after we opened, like a Friday night was probably like 60 people there, which was great at the time.
Right.
Like, now we've got.
Is that in y'all's little parking lot? Where is it?
Yeah, right in the parking lot.
Yeah,
So we shut down the whole parking lot, put a big stage out there. We actually just had Lost Fest Round 2, which was about twice as big as the first one. We ended up having food trucks come out there and support it, and a bunch of art vendors. We're always trying to find like ways to work with local artists and other local creators.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the right place, Ocean Springs, for that. Music,
yeah,
art,
exactly.
and beer is pretty much
exactly
staple.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like our yearly fest that we do. We always do a big party that's almost as big, but not quite for our 1 year, or like for our 1 year last year. And we'll do it again in November this year for our 2 year. And then aside from that, we just kind of play around. We had a painting class up there a few weeks ago that was an absolute blast. It was like painting with pints, and everyone paid whatever, got a pint, and this lady just sketched out basically what we're going to paint. It was like, you do it however you want. And we all just sat there painting for 3.5 hours, drinking beers and having a good time. And we do like a trivia night, bingo night, kind of live music Sundays type of thing. And it's been fun.
Was it a trial by fire or or brew and test, maybe is a better way to say it, to get the ones that you keep on tap as your staple beers, like Joey was asking? In other words, if you just brew, like you said, if you were to brew just what you like, that's probably hard, right? To like be like, I'll brew
any
this
brewer will tell you, like, you got beers that you sell and you got beers that you like want to make.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm not a huge New England IPA fan, but I know that if I put one on tap, it's going to sell within a month, right? But then like if we put like, I'm really into saisons like this. So like we'll do a saison. We've got a local honey and lemon saison coming out probably in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be right up my alley. So I'll drink that quicker than anyone else will. We'll still sell a bit, and like the beer nerds will come in and be like, no shit, like that's awesome,
Do we have a beer nerd? Do we have a big beer nerd?
Big nerd society?
Down here?
Almost everyone does now. Like,
okay.
Yeah, and even just like tourism, beer tourism has become such a big thing. Like I said, with 8,000 breweries in the U.S., it's like people will travel places just to go check out all the breweries in town. Yeah.
Yeah, like a card or something.
Yeah.
Beer nerd.
We keep on trying to work it out with like some of the other breweries. We actually started like a little tour at one point where they like got in a limo, went to Chandelier and worked their way back. So it was like Chandelier, Fly Llama, us, Craft Advisory, Hops and Growlers.
Do y'all all kind of support each other like that?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about the industry is like everyone's like really, we're almost all competing against like big beer, right? Like the big brands and even the craft brands who have sold out to big brands. It's like I go over to Fly Llama once a week at least. Dave comes over and sees us.
Okay.
Katie's one of those people I can call and be like, hey, Katie, I need a bag of Pilsner like tomorrow. She's like, cool, I live in OS. I'll drop it off tonight,
Yeah.
We're all really, really close.
That's cool. I like that because, like you said, the pie's big enough for everybody.
Take down the man.
And like,
take down the man.
Right, to see like all of us than just to see one of us. None of us are at that point where it's like people come down just to come to like one of our tap rooms. They come down to see the beer industry. When we're all working together and having fun. Like we recommend people over to any of them all the time, right? And like all the time we hear, oh, I was down at Hops and Growlers and he told me to come by.
Right.
Or, they're sharing our stuff on Facebook. it's a really cool vibe for the industry.
Cool, man.
Yeah, they have like
Awesome.
a local beer fest or something. Is that
That's the one they do with the Shuckers Stadium, isn't it? Beer and Pretzel Fest, or is that the one at Coliseum? I can't remember.
They do a couple. They do beer and bacon every year.
Yeah, beer and
That's
bacon.
over in that like big warehouse on 49. They do the one at Shucker Stadium. I haven't actually been to that one yet. It's kind of weird. You kind of got to be like with the distributor to go to that one. I think. I don't know that they have like a brew pub set up.
Okay. And that distributor game, you kind of mentioned that, like that's a whole nother like probably.
Yeah, man, it's just like
dogfight of a business, right?
Yeah, it makes it way harder.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, if you're making like really good margins in your tap room, and then you start selling kegs to other bars, and they're only going to pay like $100 and some bucks, so they can sell the keg to them for $100.
Middleman. There's always a middleman.
They got to sell to the customer.
Always a middleman.
Yeah. So it just takes a big chunk out.
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna assume you can't take that keg and drive it down there yourself.
No, man, that's a Mississippi thing. That's a lot of states though.
That's
like I said, I had the
pleasure
of working in. Yeah, right. Dude, I've thought about it, like opening a like kind of ghost LLC as a distributor.
Yeah.
There's a guy up in northern Mississippi, 1817 Brewing, that does that. His distribution laws, he's like in Tupelo or something, and his distribution laws were just weird. And so he was like, I'm just gonna buy a warehouse, start it in my wife's name, and I'll just do it myself. But then you're still kind of losing out on a decent chunk of margins because you're running a second LLC.
Right.
But I worked up in Asheville and Colorado, and they're both self-distribution up to a certain level of beer. So like we could literally fill a keg, drop it off at a bar, take a check home, and
that's where you need to be.
I know. I'm trying to get a little lobbying group together. If anyone knows anyone politically, hit me
well,
up.
we know some guys and some gals.
Yeah, you're just talking big money fights right there.
Yeah.
You're going up against some people who's got a little bit of stroke. So.
Yeah.
That's always fun. Well, dude, I appreciate you stopping in here today. It sounds like your business is doing good. That makes me happy to hear. Anything locally homegrown that's doing well,
hell yeah,
we're all about it.
So
Ocean
Springs.
Yeah. Where's the best place we can find you, your events and all that stuff?
So check out Spring Brewing Co. at Instagram, on Facebook. Our website is just lostspringbrewing.com. I need to do a little better on that. But on Facebook and Instagram, you can definitely catch up with all of our like current events. We post our tap list at least once a week so everyone can see. Like we rotate out literally weekly pretty much. So it's like check what's on tap before you come down, or just come down and see what's up.
Yeah, the photos on there too are killer. So your person doing that, kudos to them. They're doing a great job. So
hell yeah, Natalie Thompson.
Yeah, she's doing great. But dude, again, thanks for stopping in. Thanks everybody for watching on the live. We've been mentioning it here on the lives to go download the Brownwater Banter app if you don't already have it on your phone. Stay connected to everything we're doing in our little universe here on Brownwater, all our socials. If you like going hunting, fishing, we got all that stuff covered in there. Drinking beer, talking to local business owners. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. And if you keep watching, we're going to keep doing them. And speaking of keep doing them, today, as of the recording, this is Tuesday, the 13th of June, Thursday, the 15th. I can't do math quick. We got Zach Rushing coming up. He's got a comedy show coming up in Biloxi. We're going to be talking to him. So that's 2 days from now, talking to him about his dude is just massive on Facebook. So we're going to check that out. But hopefully you can tune in, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Later.